Ah, yes. It's that wonderful time of year when the hockey season is finally upon us again. If Calgarians' reaction to the Flames' playoff run last year is any indication, hockey fans in Calgary are pumped for the 2015-16 season. As busy as the Flames' offseason was, it probably pales in comparison to the work that went on at the Calgary Sports and Entertainment Corporation, or CSEC, the group that owns and operates the Flames, Stampeders, Hitmen, and the Roughnecks. This past summer, the CSEC announced their proposed new megastructure, CalgaryNext, an event arena, football stadium, and community fieldhouse that, if built, will truly be a one-of-a-kind, state-of-the-art facility and house all 4 franchises under the CSEC umbrella. CalgaryNext carries a price tag of $890 million, and of that, financing plans call for $440 million of public money. Beyond the financing, concerns have been raised ranging from the required creosote cleanup at the proposed site to adequate parking. So, where do things stand right now? And what's at stake if CalgaryNext does not become a reality?
Hey Calgary, I'm Kevin Chorney. I'm pleased to be joined with Calgary, well, you're well known in the city for sure, Flames President and CEO of Calgary Sports and Entertainment Corporation, Ken King. Sir, thanks very much for being here today.
Delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, you've got a really unique vantage point when it comes to the Flames. Should fans have confidence that this thing's going to turn around this year? It's been
Yes.
a bit of a rough start, right?
Well, you know what? I asked Brian Burke and Brad Treliving the same question this morning.
Yeah.
You know what? We've been a little bit of a funk. Big expectations, which is awesome. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Some of our main guys haven't been going as well as they should, but they feel pretty good. You know, we had 2 games in New York that we lost.
Yep.
But they thought they were sort of emerging out of a little bit of a funk. So I take some solace from their view. Brad and Brian are solid hockey guys, and they actually think we're making some progress. So,
Are we pumped with Dougie Hamilton so far? Is that coming
you
around?
know,
I think it's coming.
I don't think Dougie Hamilton is pumped with Dougie Hamilton.
No, probably not.
He would have expected more and wanted more.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is. And he's in a new system. He's in a new city. But he's a really bright young guy. He's 22 years old. He's going to be a real good hockey player for us.
I think without question. People just need to be a little bit patient. I think it's fair. Let's get on to CalgaryNext. I think that's primarily why you're here today. Other than modern homes for our professional sports teams and a state-of-the-art, it is state-of-the-art, multi-sport fieldhouse open to the public. Why does Calgary need CalgaryNext?
Well, we think it's a huge opportunity for the city to grab some synergy. The city recreation department wants a field house. We need a field house. We're the only even medium-sized city, let alone large city, that doesn't have one. That's for amateur athletes, 365 days a year. Right now, the plan is to put it at Foothills Athletic Park up beside the university. Yeah. We understand why they want it there. We certainly understand why the university wants it there. Yeah. But we would love to integrate it into our project, which helps us kind of get some synergy for a football stadium as well. So that's really the key part of that. McMahon Stadium was built in 1960. Yeah. Bless the McMahon brothers, $6 million, 90 days to build. Yeah. Wouldn't that be great?
90 days, imagine
90
that
days, yeah, amazing.
And
and we need to replace the Scotiabank Saddledome. The modern era of new event centers, and the modern era, frankly, of football stadiums, Saskatchewan, Hamilton, Ottawa, and Winnipeg all have new football stadiums for 10 games, fundamentally. Yeah. We think we can maybe improve on that a little bit and combine the field house, which we need anyway, and which I think is coming with us or without us.
It's an innovative solution to the problem.
Yeah, I think that's well put. And then Scotiabank Saddledome is, assuming we're at least 5 or 6 years away from this actually opening. Yeah. Maybe 7. I wish it would be shorter than longer. Sure. We're going to be in a situation where we don't need a bigger building, we need a better building. We need it to be ergonomically superb. And it would seem that actually talking to downtown City Hall, they've said, boy, you've sure raised the awareness of creosote, you've raised the awareness of a field house, sure. And pretty much everybody agrees we need to replace the Saddledome and need to replace McMahon Stadium. So it's just time. Time has come, and we've got a huge private equity infusion with a $450 million. That's rare. So let's hope we can get it across the line.
And I do want to touch a bit more onto that. First, though, whoever approved that tiny urinal and toilet count at the Saddledome must have had the bladder of champions, because that's ridiculous. The lineups are just incredible.
what?
Can we expect that to be a thing of the past in the future?
That and everything else. The funny part is when you isolate, whether it's missing concerts or washrooms, when you isolate the things, it doesn't sound like much individually. You don't build a new building so you can have a better washroom, but the fact of the matter is we are woefully inadequate on a lot of the fundamental services, and these new buildings are spectacular. They're great places to watch events, hockey, sports, or other community events. We had We Day today down there. 20,000 screaming kids. It was fantastic. So great community service as well. But long answer to your short question, yes. We need to deal with that.
That's smart. Obviously, grabbing a beer, grabbing a bite takes a long time as well. Will it look similar? The only other real big building I've been to, I guess, I saw the Flames play the Habs in Montreal at the Bell Center.
Beautiful.
That to me is a great, I guess, just construction idea. It's well thought out.
Beautiful product, very steep. It's a very intimidating building. They built it that way on purpose. The pitch,
you wouldn't want to fall.
You really don't. You kind of need a guide dog to get down there. But it's a great building to play in. It's a great building for them to host, and they're having a great year. Not because of the building. They're a real good team, but it's a great example of what you can do in the modern era of construction.
I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about creosote cleanup. Now, I mean, costs have been estimated from anywhere from $50 to about $300 million at that site. Has we made any ground as to who's going to be responsible for that cleanup?
First thing we need to do is understand the cleanup. So Calgary Municipal Land Corporation, which is major shareholders are the City of Calgary, have a consultant, and they are working to understand the degree of contamination that's there. Long before we figure out, who's paying, how much it's going to be. These estimates are very, very broad estimates. There are creosote sites in every city in North America. Very common. At the turn of not the last century, but the previous century, North America was built on railroad ties and telegraph poles. They dipped them in creosote. Minnesota, for some reason, has a vast number of creosote sites. They're reclaimed often. They're turned into great. They're brownfield sites that are turned into great development sites. That's what's going to happen here.
Of course.
With us or without us. So we think with the province and the city, maybe the federal government, and the polluter in the same room, what we're going to do is get away from everybody pointing fingers about who should pay, and let's just sit down and figure out a good answer for this. The Premier has said the polluter should pay. That would be ideal.
That would be tough. I mean, they're no longer in Alberta.
But you know what? You can't. It's difficult to escape.
It should be.
Contamination,
I hope that's the
liability.
Case.
But we'll see. But the big thing is, we all agree on one thing: it needs to be cleaned up. So let's quit pointing fingers at who's responsible and figure out how big the job is, and let's get on to get it done.
Get it done. I couldn't agree more. Folks, we're going to jump to a break and check in with the Rant Pack. Stay with us.
I'm totally down with this thing. This CalgaryNext thing is a great idea. The location is a terrible idea. Terrible. Okay, it's on the river. That is a recipe for disaster. So yes, let's do this thing. No, let's not have it on the river in the middle of a small community that would be overwhelmed by Flames traffic. That part's a really, really bad idea. I don't think that was well thought out. But yeah, we absolutely do need a new stadium. We need a new hockey arena. And if we can amalgamate all this stuff and also make space available for kids who are up and coming, more ice, all that kind of stuff is fantastic. And as for the Flames, I'm excited about the Flames only in the respect that they're going to get their backsides trampled by the Habs. Go Habs.
You know, I didn't realize Julie was able to sneak in that comment about the Habs.
That's good.
That's okay. She's entitled to her opinion, right?
You know, there's a great respect between Montreal and Calgary. The teams goes back to 86 and 89.
It's a great playoffs.
And Calgary Flames got a standing ovation in Montreal when they beat them in Montreal. I think it's one of the very few times Montreal ever lost the Stanley Cup in Montreal.
In that era, sure,
So there's always, whenever we go to Montreal, you tell them we're from Calgary. There's kind of a neat thing, but we're going to have to turn that tide on Friday.
Yeah, right.
For sure. I was intrigued by the location comment.
Yeah, I want to mention that, yes.
Our current building, the Scotiabank Saddledome, actually is right in the, it's the drain of the flood zone. The West Village location did not flood during the biggest flood that any of us may hopefully ever see.
2013.
And actually it did across the river in Hillhurst, but it didn't flood in that area. So it's actually higher ground, safer ground. Now, the truth of the matter is the Noah's Ark flood, the actually zone is 16th Avenue down. Every square inch of downtown Calgary is in the not the lifetime, but the century flood, which God willing, we will never get, certainly have not gotten yet.
Well, you know, and if that were to happen, the province just announced $450 million for flood mitigation for Calgary alone. So I think that should probably put that argument, if there ever was, with the rest.
But I think automatically it's reasonable. People think, well, you're beside the river, so it must be more flood prone than where you are.
I think people assume that,
Yeah, not the case.
You mentioned earlier obviously the multi-sport field house. Now, it's an unfunded recreation priority for the city currently.
Yep.
So what all is included in the field house?
Well, they're mostly defined by 400-meter running track, mostly for track and field, but also gymnasia for basketball, badminton, all the normal court sports. Cool. Often some primary medical kind of stuff, trainers and all of that type of thing associated with athletics. Lots of track and field, all amateur athletes. It's not pro athletes.
Which
here.
is really
it's
cool.
all amateur athletes. 365 days a year. Every meaningful city has one. Some have 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Okotoks has one.
It's a bit of a slap to the face.
And it's got a FIFA soccer field in it. That's the same as the football field, obviously. Not the same, but it's designed for that.
Could be rearranged.
I think you can have kids playing soccer there at 10 o'clock in the morning and Calgary Stampeders competing there at 7 o'clock at night on the same day. Really cool, really necessary, and nice efficiency. 30,000 seats.
It's a lot of seats.
A little fewer now than what we got.
Yeah, about 35 now, is that right?
35 now, but we draw roughly about 29,000. Now on the long weekend, or Saskatchewan, when they're playing better, we can do more than that. We're expandable to 50,000, but not for Labor Day games, for international, Grey Cup, international events, national events. Yeah. So I think it'll be neat.
The plan also calls for $250 million by way of a ticket surcharge.
User fee.
User fee. Okay. So what does that do to current Flames ticket prices?
Well, it will increase them. Now, ticket prices increase somewhat, almost annually. I think there's once or twice in our history we've kept them flat, but so they go up a little bit. Yeah. I think people will understand. If we use a $100 ticket as an example,
sure.
Let's call it 8%, just for consideration. So whether it's the first $8 or the last $8, I'm not sure people care, but I think they'll say, okay, that's a fair price, and you know what, I'm prepared to pay $8 or 8% for living in a new environment, in a beautiful new project. They kind of get that. We've kind of tested it with them. Mm-hmm. So it's part of the $450 million owner equity account, which is a massive amount of money for private investment in a public facility. Remember, the facility is going to be owned by the public.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be owned by the city about 20 years down the road after this community revitalization.
Well, no, they'll own it right away. When we get to the discussion on the CRL, that's simply the repayment process.
Yeah, and I think I do want to clear that up.
Yeah.
Just kind of make people aware about it. Folks, we're going to jump to another break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.